What is going on? Thank you for tuning in to the MMA Podcast. It is March 30th. As always, a lot to break down. Tonight on UFC Tonight, we found out a lot more about UFC 200. We got confirmation that it is going to be Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor in a rematch at 170 pounds for the main event. We're also going to see Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar fight for the interim featherweight belt. Some Jon Jones news, a lot to break down. What else? We've got a bunch of fight announcements. Ariel released from Fox, Korean Zombie coming back, Cyborg making her UFC debut. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Hell yeah, it is the MMA Podcast. Like I said, a lot to break down. We will dive into it, but before we do so, as always, I got to introduce the man on the other side of this Skype call, and he is in Cali. He is on Twitter at Sweet Pappy Jones. It's P Money. What up, son?
Jake, we are just big pimping, spinning cheese, maxing and relaxing in the Southern Cali breeze. It's a lovely day out here. A relatively early episode of the MMA Podcast in what is slated to be our new time slot, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. Every Wednesday, bringing it to you. Glad to be bringing it to the fans with some regularity, and yeah, definitely got some fresh news to talk about there with UFC Tonight having wrapped up a little bit ago. Definitely ready to get into it with you, bruh.
Yeah, at least for the next little while, I figured we'd try and piggyback off UFC Tonight. Usually we have a lot of news being dropped on that show, and I figured if we were already doing Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, we may as well hit the air right after UFC Tonight to sort of react to the news that we learned, and what a great night to do that, because we learned some big news tonight at UFC Tonight. But really quickly, the plugs for the show. Follow the MMA Podcast on Twitter. If you are listening live, you can call in at 213-457-3380 or Skype us at the MMA Podcast. Visit the MMApodcast.com and click the links at the top to subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, all for free.
Free 99.
The low. All right, let's get to it. It's what everyone's talking about right now. Conor and Nate at welterweight. It's the main event. It feels weird, this UFC 200 card. People have been talking about it for over a year. I mean, they announced it at last year's International Fight Week, which I think was July 5th. So this is one of the most anticipated and planned ahead cards ever. Not only is it, a big number, 200. It's going to be the first ever fight at the new Las Vegas arena. It's International Fight Week. It's pretty accepted that, this is the UFC's biggest card of the year, and they're not even doing a title fight as the main event, huh? Like I was I don't know, maybe it was the optimist inside me that was hoping we would see Conor move back to featherweight and fight for that title, but no, we're going to see, like it was rumored, I guess last week, a rematch at 170 pounds between Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. Seeing a lot of polarized responses, mostly bad, on Twitter. Probably the go-to MMA follow in the entire sport, and that's not an exaggeration. Front Row Brian tweeting about 15 minutes ago Quote, an interim belt at 140. Oh, yeah, and this is coming off news that Aldo and Edgar, the two guys who he would have had to pick from to fight for the belt, are going to fight each other for an interim belt. I'm assuming on the same main card. It might even be the co-main event. We'll break that fight down in a second, but our buddy Front Row Brian says an interim belt at 145. Not because of an injury, but because the 145 champ is too busy fighting at 170 in a nonsensical rematch. Having Conor fight again at 70 is irresponsible, not his fighting weight. He will lose again. His entire aura will be irreparably harmed. Conor loses to Diaz again. How can he be taken seriously? He'll be coming off 2 straight losses to a natural lightweight who has basically a 500 record in his last 11 fights. Very good points, sort of to piggyback off of that. You know, even Conor himself admitted at the post-fight presser that these welterweights don't fall like the featherweights do when I land the left. When I land a clean left on these featherweights, they fucking fall. The welterweights, not so much. They're bigger. I don't know why Conor... apparently Conor was obsessed about this fight, getting a rematch against Nate. So this is probably driven a lot by Conor, probably driven, of course, mostly by Dana and Lorenzo, who must see a lot of money in the rematch. I don't know. I mean, they must be confident in Conor, because if they weren't, I don't think you make this fight again for reasons that Brian just drew out. Maybe they are really married with the idea of bringing George into the cage after a Conor win and making that fight. 3 fights in a row for Conor at 170 would be just the I mean, we're talking Kimbo Dada levels of absurdity, that you have the biggest star in the sport, who is currently a champion at featherweight. Let's be honest, he's probably a natural 55er. The guy sucks a lot of weight to make 145 pounds. 170 is not the guy's natural weight. I mean, he talks about eating like 2 steaks for breakfast and not cutting weight, and he didn't look pudgy up on the scale at all. But the guy's a 55er. I think at this point it's pretty obvious, and it's wild how the guy's a 55er and we haven't seen the guy fight at his natural weight ever. All of his fights have been at 45, where he has to cut to make himself look like a zombie crackhead, or he's at 70, where he's like, I'm eating 5 breakfasts, just fucking not even cutting at all. So it's stupid. Nate even wanted the fight at 55, so the fact that it's at 70, I'm assuming that's Conor's deal. I don't know why he would want to fight at 70 against a lightweight when he's the featherweight champion. There's a lot of things at play here. I actually do want to briefly ask you who you're picking, but before we get there, what are your thoughts now that it is confirmed? Conor Nate, a welterweight fight. It's going to be the main event of UFC 200. A card that we actually have a little bit of stock in, because we're planning on making our next trip to Vegas for this very card. I like making 2 or 3 trips a year. It's a lot easier for you, Pat, being in Southern Cali. You're only a drive away, or where I kind of gotta transverse the whole continent. But I don't know. As someone who's planning on going to UFC 200, I'm a little bummed out. Like, I'm not going to cancel plans, and I know I'm a little bit spoiled when it comes to seeing great fights, and I'm still intrigued by this rematch, and definitely drawn by a lot of other fights that are going to be going down that weekend, notably Joanna versus Gedalia going down the night before, I believe. But I don't know, this kind of just bums me out a little bit. I don't really want to see this fight again. I'd rather see something else, but the motto of the UFC the last year seems to have been rematches, and we get another one here. What are your initial thoughts now that it seems like it's locked in? UFC 200, Diaz versus McGregor 2.
Well, it certainly does seem like a little bit of a letdown, at least from my perspective. I was actually just talking about this recently with a buddy of mine, that the UFC, the fight week is going to be stacked no matter what this year in Vegas. That 3 day stretch they have carved out, just event after event after event leading up to UFC 200. It's slated to be very stacked, and just a lot of the events leading up in the coming months to UFC 200. Just looking at what was going on, it's kind of hard to even imagine what they were going to do for UFC 200, just because there's a lot of big fights and a lot of big cards already booked. And this fight getting made, it had been rumored for a while now, but Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, the rematch at 170 pounds, like everybody's been saying, essentially, it doesn't make any sense. It really does have to just be Conor McGregor, just with some sort of sports superstition or something. The first fight was at 170 pounds, so the second fight, the rematch, has to be at 170 pounds, and it holds up the division. I think we were talking about it last week on the show. And I said, you know what? I really want Conor to go back to 145 pounds. He's got to try and rebuild some of that shine. He's got to remind everybody why he was a factor in the first place, why people were even giving him credit enough to where he would be such a huge favorite against Nate Diaz going into this fight, and to still be a favorite in the opening lines when the rematch was announced. I thought that it would just serve him and serve everybody best. I mean, that way, now, as you mentioned as well, we have Edgar Aldo 2, which is a great fight. But hey, you know what? That rematch should have happened. If there wasn't an immediate rematch to make, that match should have happened years ago, after they fought the first time. But now they're having that rematch for an interim belt. It really takes some shine off of the whole thing, really. You've got a main event with no belt on the line in a weight class, and neither guy's really. I mean, I think Nate would have better success at 170 pounds. I think he got worked in the Dong Hyun Kim decision. I feel he should have been 3-1 at the welterweight division, but that's neither here nor there. But Conor McGregor, I mean, I don't know. Maybe his shots could drop some 170 pounders. Nate Diaz, the Diaz brothers, they've just got notoriously fantastic chins. So who knows? Maybe if he got in there and hit a glass jaw Joe, he could drop some 170 pounders. But and he was putting a good hurting on Nate as well at the beginning of the fight. I really think this is not the best move, but for some reason, they must have gotten some really huge, some record-breaking numbers for them to want to make this as the headline for UFC 200 and to completely hold up the 145-pound division. It's simply just all about the money, as is another trend that we've seen continuing over the past couple of years with the UFC.
Yeah, it's like we got Dana McMahon over here making matches. And that sort of transitions over. Who are you taking in the rematch? Conor McGregor, I believe, is a slight favorite. Let me confirm that real quick. UFC 200. Ooh, it's actually dead even, minus 115. So pick him in Vegas. Who you got?
Oh, I mean, I've got Nate. I had Nate last time, as I will point out for the rest of time that I famously predicted completely accurately how that fight would go down. I really, man, I don't want to say I don't see how the fight could go any different, but I mean, Conor certainly has a shot. He does have a great skill set. That is why he is the champion of a UFC. He won the UFC belt. He became the interim champion, and or wait, was that for the interim belt? No, I don't think. I don't even recall. But anyway, he ended up beating Jose Aldo and the champion of the division. I I think he could be a little more economical with his movements, as he referred to himself. Maybe that is a factor, but I don't know. I'd have to say Nate. Um, Also, he will be much more prepared. Um, he's got a full camp now, and certainly he's probably got the biggest payday of his life, especially with the numbers sounding as good as they have been, and to sign on to be the main event of what surely will be one of the biggest events that the UFC's ever done. Um, he's going to be getting more money. He's going to be getting the full training camp, and he's going to be getting the spotlight and the recognition that he deserves. And hopefully, we'll just see a super motivated Nate Diaz, and that is a scary prospect for anybody who's in the cage with him, because he's got a threat anywhere that the fight goes. He's got the range. He's got solid boxing technique, and he is a world class Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioner. And he can hurt you anywhere the fight goes, and he is a fighter, as he himself likes to say, and that's why I've always been a big fan of his. He doesn't go out there for the wall and stall. He's not grappling for a position. He's grappling for the submissions. He's trying to finish the fight, and typically he does that. And I think that this fight, really, the height and reach is just going to be so much for Conor McGregor to overcome. He's got great movement, and he's got great power. But I just think with Nate's overall skill, the height and reach advantage, this time of full training camp, it's just going to be too much to overcome once again. I'm taking Nate.
I'm taking Conor. This I think was a fight where I rewatched the first round, and Conor was being where he needed to be, and he was landing the shots he wanted to land. I think it's a matter of time. I mean, I think if they fight again, I mean, I do agree with these odds. They should be even, and I'm giving each guy an equal shot in my mind to win the fight. If it stays even, I'm probably not going to bet on this card. I think in the first fight, Conor had just as much of a chance to rock and wobble Nate, and it's sort of it's going to be a match of who is able to rock and wobble the other guy first. Because if Conor can wobble Nate, then he'll follow up with some hard strikes and probably finish the fight after Nate falls via TKO. If Nate wobbles Conor first, he's going to drop Conor and sub him out like he did at UFC 196. I think Conor is probably a harder hitter. Diaz, alternatively, probably has a better chin. So, and Conor's got an amazing chin. I was that actually was the thing that shocked me the most in the fight. It wasn't that Conor's left wasn't dropping Nate. It was that Conor's chin seemed to it seemed that Nate just hit him perfectly, because Conor has taken hard shots. You watch his fight against Chad Mendes, especially. Chad Mendes is the heaviest hitter at 145. Easy. Other than maybe Conor himself. But Chad landed some hard punches flush on Conor's jaw, and Conor kept moving forward. Conor's got a good jaw. The Diaz brothers have god-level jaws. I mean, those dudes are insane. So I think I think both guys have relatively level chances to win the fight. And I'm sure the Irish are going to come out in full force yet again. I actually thought maybe the Irish would, I don't know, not be slacking, but they probably wouldn't come as heavy as they did for the Mendes fight at 189. But those Irish, I don't know if that country's doing real well money wise or they're sending the fans over in bunches, but I mean, Jesus Christ, this is going to be the fourth fight in Vegas in about 1 year for Conor. He fought Mendes last July, he fought Aldo last December, he fought Diaz this March, and now he's fighting Diaz again in July. All those fights at the MGM Grand. And those Irishmen just keep coming. It doesn't matter which card you're talking about, and UFC 200 won't be an exception. They're going to come in full force. So you got to tip your hat to him. He will have a little bit of a home field advantage, I think, in that vein. But, we are talking about it, and we do disagree about it. And, at least we're not getting a main event where the favorite is a crazy favorite and we all expect them to win. This is going to be a hotly contested fight. But yeah, we'll see what goes down in the lead up to that fight. One thing I was saying before UFC 196 was, man, I wish we had more than 11 days to see this trash talk evolve and see him yap back and forth. And and I'm curious to see what Conor we see in the lead up to this fight, whether we see the same old outspoken, cocky Conor, or whether we see the Conor that was on Instagram the days following his loss to Diaz, a more humble, more reserved Conor. I think it's the former. I think Conor comes back and is cocky as he's ever been. It looks like we have someone calling in. We've got a caller here. We're talking about Conor and Nate Diaz. Caller, what is going on? You have any hot takes for us?
Hot takes, Jake. Davey Boy has hot takes, motherfucker.
Oh, Davey Boy! The return of Davey motherfucking Boy. What's going on, man?
Been a long time, man. Been a long time.
Missed your ass, man. Shoot.
Yeah, don't tell me about it. But other than that, though, Conor versus Nate Diaz, I tweeted this out, and I'll say it on air, too. So you mean to tell me a 2-week Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor at welterweight, and now full camp Nate Diaz is going against Conor McGregor at UFC 200? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, if you look at it that standpoint right now, if a 2-week Nate Diaz can beat him in the second round, what could a full fight camp Nate Diaz do to Conor McGregor? I
would say one thing, which is I think the full fight camp thing almost works both ways. Where, yes, Diaz didn't have time to prepare for Conor, but that dude stays in shape. He's always training. Conor alternatively only had 11 days to train for Nate, so I think both guys are going to step in the cage and know a lot more and be a lot more prepared for what the other guy is going to be bringing into the cage.
I think mentally you're right about that, Jake. Mentally, though, Conor's going to be more mentally prepared, but Nate's going to be just more battle ready than anything. I think Nate's talking about he could go 5 rounds, on a 2-week fight camp, but this time around, Nate could probably go 10 rounds versus Conor, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Right now I'm thinking, I don't see how this works for Conor's favor. Honestly, they should have fought at 155, kind of make it an even playing field, in my opinion.
But
Conor brings in the big money and stuff like that, and Conor's calling his shots, and he wants Nate Diaz at 170. Nate Diaz is all right. Don't be surprised again.
It's funny you talk about their mental game. Honestly, I think I actually said it on the podcast from Vegas. It was either that or I said it privately to P Money or Allen in in Vegas, but I was starting to get the same feeling about Conor before the Diaz fight that I got about Ronda before the Holly fight. And it was, you were seeing the UFC embedded, and instead of seemingly being mentally prepared and intense and focusing on the fight, they're goofing off and smiling, and where, usually you have Conor talking about, yes, I'm focused, and I'm going to go in and cut his head off, lop it off, and hold it up for all the crowd. Like, no, he was like, I'm eating 7 breakfasts a day, and I'm going to my fans' apartments who have cardboard cutouts of me, and I'm partying with them, and this is awesome, and I love Cali, and it seemed like his mind wasn't in it. And I got the same feeling I got when Rousey was about to fight Holly, which is, ooh, you cannot take this champion thing for granted, or else someone's gonna come up. And I don't know, I feel like Conor is going to be a lot hungrier this fight. What do you think about? Sorry.
I don't. I see. Like, here's the other thing too. I mean, Nate Diaz is always ready to fight, and like what you see with Nate Diaz is what you get. Conor's like more entertaining, and like he still has the UFC hype behind him. And in this retrospective right here, for this second fight, Nate Diaz has nothing to lose. Like, even if Nate Diaz loses, like, he's still in the big money and stuff like that. I think Conor has more to lose. If he loses Nate Diaz again at 170, that just, like, drops the stock. I think, like, mentally, like, I think that's more in Conor's head. Like, I can't lose to this guy the second time. So I think there's more pressure on Conor now, especially fighting at 170. I still scratch my head on it. They should have fought at 155. I think Conor has more to lose mentally now than versus Nate Diaz.
I'm gonna ask you one more thing about Conor, Nate, and then I gotta ask you about the Jon Jones thing, because we gotta get a Davey Boy hot take on Jones before we let him go. Shit. But first, what do you think about them giving Conor another fight at welterweight, giving the featherweight? I mean, you've got a featherweight interim championship on the same card where the undisputed featherweight champ is fighting. And I actually pulled up the term interim championship here just to get a definition. And it says, occasionally the world champions of a particular weight class is temporarily unable to defend his championship because of medical, legal, or other reasons that are beyond the champion's control. There's a precedent that you only do an interim championship when you have to. You don't do an interim championship when the champion feels like going up 2 weight classes to avenge a loss against the natural lightweight who's 500 in his last 11 fights, like FRB pointed out.
Right.
This is I don't agree with it at all. But do you take as much offense at the fact that they're actually doing an interim championship for featherweight on the same card that the actual champion is fighting on?
You have a guy who was the 155-pound champion, went down to 145 and almost beat Jose Aldo, and you slap him in the face with a temporary belt. You have a guy who's been on the longest winning streak in Zuffa history, and you slap him in the face with a temporary belt, and you say, you're good enough to fight UFC 200 for a temporary belt. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's just such a slap in the face right there. For all means possible on that one. You damn right that's fucked up. That's a temporary belt. Like, what you said on that one too, Jake, by all means, like, if there's somebody who's injured, or gotten into a DUI or some legal battle, stuff like that, yeah, you do the interim top for that one. But for this presence right here, fighting at UFC 200, where you have the 145 champion going up to 170 and not defending his belt, and you slap those 2 guys who have been with the company and fought for them and been the company guy with a temporary belt, you're damn right that's a slap in the face.
And you know, back a year ago when Jose Aldo backed out of UFC 189 and they slot in Chad Mendes instead of Frankie Edgar, most fans were saying, "Ooh, that's kind of bullshit. I think they're putting in Mendes instead of Edgar because Conor probably has a better chance against Mendes on short notice. I think Frankie has earned it over Chad." And so he arguably was next in line a year ago. Since then, Conor's fought 4 times. Frankie has beaten Mendes, and now you're going to say, "Oh yeah, you just knocked out Chad Mendes, but you got to fight one of the pound for pound legends of all time before you get your shot." It's a damn tragedy. And really quick, Dave, before we let you go, like I said, I gotta get a hot take on Jon Jones, who's currently in cell 26 of the Albuquerque lockup, awaiting his trial tomorrow morning. We will get into the story itself for the listeners who are wondering about this hard segue. But Dave, you are one of the most outspoken people I know, especially when it comes to the topic of Jonathan Jones. What do you think about this knucklehead getting thrown in jail for a couple days?
The first thing I gotta say is where the fuck is Uber at? Why are they not sponsoring Jon Jones and giving him like some free rides and stuff like that? How the hell is this guy still fucking up like this? You're in fucking Albuquerque. Albuquerque is a small fucking town, and do you not think a 6'6" motherfucker cannot be seen driving in a fucking car, drag racing in a fucking car, and not think you're gonna get caught? What the fuck you thinking, Jon Jones? Seriously, like that's just ridiculous right there. You're trying to get your life together, and you got caught drag racing. You got caught on tape saying you're fucking lying. You're fucking lying. John, Uber, motherfucker.
Yeah, it was literally, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago when they did the UFC Unstoppable Presser, which a hell of a name for a presser for someone who gets stopped by the police over and over and over. UFC Unstoppable. And someone actually asked him, hey, have you thought about getting a driver? And Jones laughs it off and says, yeah, maybe, I don't know. While we sat next to our buddy Alan at Westland Eagle AH, who screamed the word Coke at the top of his lungs a million times. But the
other thing too is I think more Asians have passed the driver's test and gotten less wrecks than Jon Jones. John, you're making us look bad, man. You're making the Asians look good, buddy. Keep on keeping on there, buddy.
And for all of those who want to call my podcast racist, Davey Boy is Asian. He's allowed to make Asian jokes, just like I'm allowed to make Irish jokes about Conor because I'm Irish. But yo, Dave, it was awesome hearing your voice. We have to get you back on one of these pods soon. Maybe a Sunday recap show with our boy C. Lowenstein at some point.
Definitely, maybe a UFC 200 hangover. That'll probably be a good one.
Ooh, that would. Well, take it easy. You have a Twitter to give to the adoring Davey Boy fans out there.
All right, everyone. If you don't know who I am, follow me on Twitter. That's Davey Boy, DAVEI_BOI. Other than that, if you're not listening to the MMA podcast, or follow the MMA podcast. Or give us some. Also, give us some shout outs too to the Ian Jimmy Show. Follow that motherfucker too. He's funny as shit.
Yeah.
Front Row Brian. Follow C. Lowenstein. Sweet Poppy Jones. Follow that motherfucker too. Other than that, later, bitches.
And he is out.
There he
Pleasure
goes.
to speak to Davey Boy.
God.
Yeah, I had to get his Jon Jones take, which we will get into. We will play a few minutes of the tape. the tape was almost the story over the story itself. But I was not exaggerating. Jon Jones is currently in cell 26 at the Albuquerque lockup. He's been there since Tuesday. He's got trial tomorrow, I think at like 8 in the morning. Not a good night and a half to be Jon Jones. But let's really quickly, before we get there, kind of wrap up the Conor Nate picture we've been kind of trying to frame, as absurd as it is, which brings us to Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. And like our boy Dave said, what has Frankie Edgar got to do to win a title shot? I mean, I swear to God, after he beats Aldo, they're going to be like, you know what? Next, you have to beat Rumble Johnson to get a featherweight champ. I mean, it is crazy the amount of hoops they're making Frankie jump through. He supposedly earned it, but didn't. Then had to fight Chad Mendez, knocked him out. Even Dana White said at that post-fight presser, Frankie, you get whoever you want next, which was, assumed to be Conor. The UFC is certainly shielding Conor from Frankie. I don't think that's a question. I think the reason they've made Conor Nate 2 is Conor Nate 2 probably, once you think about it, I guess that's the biggest money fight you can make with Conor. The Aldo rematch, I don't think is as big because the first fight was, a 13-second knockout. I don't know. I don't know if Conor Edgar would be as big as Conor Nate 2. I mean, as much as it would be, the right fight to make competitively, and if we're talking about being fair, which our boy Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, tweeted at me earlier, Conor Nate 2 is the money fight, and I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that negates the fact that Edgar is getting fucked over. I think, Ross said this is a business, not a sport. And I agree completely. But when your business is being a sports organization, you can't tilt the playing field. You can only tilt the playing field so many times before fans just walk away. And I don't think we're close to that point yet. But maybe we are. I mean, shit, it seems like every time we see a fight posted, the story isn't, oh, I'm really excited for this fight. The story is, this is bullshit, Zuffa. What are you doing? And as Bellator starts getting more and more people, the UFC, when there's no one competing with them, they can just do as the DMV does. The DMV has no competition. If you're unhappy with the way the DMV works and you want to go somewhere else, tough fucking shit. You have to go to the DMV, wait in the line for 2 hours, deal with the rude-ass dude who doesn't, type in your name right. You have to jump through all the hoops. I mean, the DMV sucks, and it sucks for a reason. They don't have to compete with anyone. That's why I like Bellator, getting these fighters, because the more you have someone competing with you, the harder you have to try. And I think the more the UFC is going to see that they can't get away with not just bullshit, but the transparent shit, the shit that they put right in front of you. They're not trying to hide it. They are serving you up a plate of bullshit, and there's no bones about it. Sort of like Strikeforce really brought a lot of good things out of the UFC. A wrestling analogy, the WWE. Their glory years were when they had a rival in the WCW. So, I mean, I'm going on a crazy tangent here about Bellator, but like Ross said, yes, he is totally right. This is a business, but you can only do so much, and it seems like there's so much internal, I don't know, turmoil maybe. I mean, you have Conor McGregor, who's the sport's biggest star, who, like our boy FRB says, where is his stock at if he loses again to Diaz. You have Ronda Rousey, who we haven't heard from since the last calendar year, except for an Instagram post where she was, bragging about like eating an apple because her jaw wasn't broken anymore. Like, it's been a strange one so far. I know the UFC wishes Conor would have won to get that GSP matchup, and maybe that's what they're going for. But let's get back on Aldo versus Edgar. It is going to be for the interim featherweight belt. Who you got here? This is another fight that is interesting. They fought before. It was, I think, the fight of the year they fought, which was 2013, 2014, one of those 2 years. It was a close fight. I think it'll be a close fight again. You could argue maybe Aldo has lost a step, while Edgar has looked as good as ever, knocking out Chad. This like the main event we just talked about. This should be a good fight. I don't see official lines out yet for it, but going by each of them having similar lines against Conor, I assume it'll be a close to even line. Who are you taking in this one between the former Brazilian champ and the former lightweight champ in Edgar? Going, I guess a win against Aldo would make him the third man to hold belts at 2 different weight classes, albeit an interim one.
Yeah, it certainly would. And actually, that's a decent marketing angle that the UFC can employ going into the UFC 200 lead up there. I think, as you mentioned, Frankie Edgar certainly seems to be performing at a level that somehow is just as good, if not even better. I mean, he seems to be getting better somehow as time goes on, almost like a Mighty Mouse. Just he is one of the best at putting it all together. The solid fundamentals in his boxing, his wrestling. He's got a great grappling game, great footwork. He's very quick. He's durable. He's taken a ton of shots from some of the biggest and heaviest hitters at 155 pounds, was the champion there. Some say should have still been champion before he moved down to 145 pounds. If he beats Jose Aldo, my goodness, he's certainly got to be itching for a fight for Conor McGregor after that. And I think could be one of the best pound-for-pound fighters that the UFC has ever seen. Really, he's just such a good fighter, so vastly underrated. He's been getting jobbed for these title shots over and over. It's a shame this couldn't be for an undisputed title, but it's a great matchup. And then you've got Jose Aldo, who certainly has something that he wants to prove here. He wants to prove that he's not the washed up guy. He needs to come out and look like WEC Jose Aldo to reinvigorate himself, I'd say, and just prove to the fans that he is still one of the best in the game. I mean, their first fight was a fantastic fight, but Frankie certainly seemed to have his foot on the gas later as that fight went. And we've seen, as you mentioned, with Frankie's knockout of Chad Mendes, he's just been looking so good in every facet. And not like I think I actually predicted that he would knock out Chad, but later in the fight, not a first round knockout. I thought he would just wear him down with the speed and the accumulation of shots, kind of like I want to say his third fight with Gray Maynard. But he came out and just clipped him clean, good first round. So he really, I don't know, maybe he's trusting his shots more and sitting down on the punches. He's always been very light on his feet with his movement. But he just is really putting it together amazingly these days. I've got to take Frankie in this one. I'm going with him. I'm going with the momentum. Frankie, he is the answer. And I think he's going to defeat Jose Aldo for the interim featherweight belt.
And, to play devil's advocate here, I'm going to go with Aldo. He was the 10-year undefeated, pound-for-pound #1 featherweight champion for the longest time for a reason. I mean, the guy just wears you down, whether it's with the leg kicks, the body kicks, punches. The guy is an absolute machine. And yes, Conor threw that left straight right up the middle that ended Jose Aldo's night quicker. I mean, it was 13 seconds? That's very fast. I don't think we see another 13 second fight here. I think Aldo comes out. I think it's a very close fight. I think it's maybe even a fight that goes to a decision, because Frankie Edgar has a heart like you could not believe. But Frankie had his shot before. Aldo has been so dominant, it's tough to pick against him. So I'll pick the former champion Jose Aldo to derail the hype train. And obviously, this is what the UFC wants to happen. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious here that the UFC would rather a Aldo Conor rematch for two reasons. A, that'd probably sell better, not only because of the international appeal in Brazil, but because of the bad blood that's already there. And Frankie, I mean, I've been joking about this for over a year, but a Conor Frankie fight, the lead up to that would be the least exciting lead up, because you would have Conor saying what Conor wants to say with, I mean, it seems like Frankie is such a chill, good-natured guy that Conor could probably spit in his face and Frankie would still smile and go, I really think he's a great fighter and great opponent. Does anyone have a napkin? I got some spit on my face, but this is going to be a good fight. The guy's just unflappable, it seems. Before we move on to Jon Jones, I just want to talk about this ridiculous, they've tonight started to come out with these promo materials for UFC 200, including these posters, these janky-ass posters, where all it is a zoom up of the dude's face, which currently I've seen 4 versions, one with Nate Diaz, one with Conor McGregor, one with Frankie Edgar, and one with Jose Aldo. And the whole promo is a zoom in of their face with writing on it, where they made it look like someone took a Sharpie and wrote all over the guy's face and their country's colors. Conor's got the the orange, the white, and the green. Frankie and Diaz have the red, white, and blue. Jose has the yellow, green, and blue of Brazil. And it's some janky bougie shit. I don't know. On Frankie's face, it says, and this is the promo. All it says on the left is, UFC 200, July 9th, Aldo Edgar 2. And it's a zoom in of Frankie's face, and on his forehead it says, "Money comes and goes. You're a champ for life." And on his cheeks it says, "He had his time. Now it's my turn." On his nose it says, "When the time comes, I'll get the job done." On his upper lip it's written, "You have to live this sport." On his chin, "Lightning only strikes once." And on Aldo, you have on his forehead, this is so dumb, "2016 will be a year of glory." It says on his nose, "I don't care if people boo me." And then on each cheek, one says, "Keep training harder. My next fight is always the most important fight." And the other, "Revenge is over with. Never stop believing. You can fulfill your dream." What are we, fucking quoting Journey now? That's the move. You're putting Journey lyrics on Jose Aldo's cheek. I mean, Diaz's says 209, and I'm not surprised, motherfucker. And Conor's says obsessed, and Era and shit. This is This is one of those ideas that sounded awesome at the boardroom, and it's like, yo, we gotta zoom up their face and in their quotes, but like it looks like someone wrote them in Sharpie, and we'll use the country colors because we do that for every poster. We make it a nationalistic thing. Like, this is some bougie shit. I'm interested to see if they like stick with it or they just scrap it once everyone starts to clown on them. But this is some Reebok level shit. This is some bougie shit. Have you seen what I'm talking about on Twitter? I hope the listeners go on like Twitter and like type in like UFC 200 poster, and hopefully it'll pull up these bougie images, as I keep calling it. But have you seen what exactly I'm talking about, Pat?
Oh yeah, I've seen it. You were certainly not off the mark there. I don't know what's going on. I mean, we've already had Conor call out the poster or the I don't know if that's the graphics or the PR department specifically.
You need to hire Ross Finkelstein, man. Shit.
My goodness, yeah. Ross has been banging out some solid promo material. They should be utilizing and paying him for his services and using his fucking shit, because goddamn, like this what they're putting out is just, it's so stupid and just lacking any kind of really just basic, I don't know, I can't even just the composition, goddamn, I don't know, my ad words aren't really working right now, but no, I mean, Photoshop is so easy these days. To put together a decent photo and a decent piece of promotional material is not difficult, and I just don't know what they've been doing lately these days. And these are some epic events, and they've got just these garbage posters that are going to be flying around. It's very unfortunate and not pleasant to look at.
Yeah, Ross would have cranked out some much better shit. Speaking of Ross, he has not been on the show in a while, but if you don't follow our boy Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, give him a follow. And if you do follow him, you may have seen him advocating the hashtag EndALS. And because he tweets about it, I'll give that a plug really quick too. Go to ALS.net and learn about ALS, share info. We need the government to assist a little bit more in the fight against ALS and all of these, neurodegenerative diseases, which, we see more and more of. ALS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. I'm sort of, most people I know have a friend or a family member who is affected by all of that. So follow our boy Ross. You got a couple ducats laying around, feel like giving to charity. Why not just one? Learn about it and tweet about it. And, tweet at the US FDA, which is at US_FDA, and at NIH. Tweet them and tell them you want to hashtag EndALS. Moving on past just this UFC 200 craziness that we've spent the last 50 minutes on to the other big news of the week. My God, Jon Jones. I'm obviously speechless, because it's like, where do you start? Even Jon Jones detractors wouldn't have seen something this wild coming. He's crashed his Bentley drunk into a phone pole with bitches in the back seat. Most recently, he was stripped of his UFC title because he was in a hit and run, broke a pregnant lady's arm, apparently ran off, stashed some coke in some bushes, and then ran off a different direction, and ended up like not fighting for a while. and this is his first fight back since January 2015. And he's going to be fighting in a few weeks against Daniel Cormier. And, man, Jon Jones fucked up again. And we will get into the thick of it in a second. But like I said, he is currently in custody. I believe he's been in custody since Tuesday morning, and he doesn't have trial till Thursday morning, so almost 2 days. And there's body cam footage, which is maybe the biggest story of all. Not just the fact that Jon Jones is out, quote-unquote, drag racing, while he's under probation and driving a car that requires a DUI interlock in a state like New Mexico that has a very strict probation laws, including those saying you commit any sort of state or federal offense and we're going to throw you in jail until the court has something to say about it. Here, I'll play the footage because the story isn't that. The story is Jon Jones. I mean, he went full heel Jones at the officer. Who, yes, the officer did seem to be baiting him a little bit, getting smart with him a little bit. But I mean, if you watch the whole thing, Jones really was the one stirring the pot and being a bit salty, which you can understand in his circumstances. He probably knew that this was going to end badly and was salty with that in mind. But let's play a few minutes of that body cam video between the Albuquerque policeman and a Jonathan Jones who had just gotten pulled over riding his Corvette. The cop accused him of revving his engine at the light, taking off at a high rate of speed, and I believe he said he wrote him a ticket for concealing a part of his license plate because he had one of those like janky license plate border things, which who gets those? Come the fuck on. And it was covering up his registration sticker, so he got a ticket for that too. Let's listen to this exchange between one of the best fighters we have ever seen in the sport and this cop who was not making his night any better.
I'm going to need you to sign inside this box. Once again, you're not admitting guilt. You're letting me know you're aware of the court date. Did you have something you wanted to say, Mr. Jones?
Yes, I do. Is your thing recording here?
It's always recording. Did you have something you wanted to say, Mr. Jones?
Yes, absolutely. You and I both know that I was not drag racing.
No, sir, I actually know that you were drag racing.
Okay,
I watched you do it.
Okay, let me talk, right?
Okay.
Do I have that right
Mr.
to
Jones,
talk?
we're not having court out here.
Do I have that
you
right
have
to
a court
talk?
date, and you can.
Do I have that right to talk?
You do have that right to talk, and you can tell us
give me my
in
right
court.
to let me talk. Okay?
Go ahead, tell me what you're going to tell.
No.
Don't tell me what I know. You're going to testify to what I know?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to testify to what you know.
I know that you were drag racing, and I will testify to that.
That I was not drag racing.
Actually, I do know that you were drag racing.
Both know that I did not speed. You and I both know that I freaking revved my engine at the red light, and I never took off racing at all. Nor was the car next to me ever took off racing. I just simply revved
Both
my
of you
engine.
took off at a high rate of speed, sir.
No, I did not.
Only you kept going. He
no,
slowed down.
No, I did not.
Okay.
You are an absolute fucking liar.
Well, we can talk about it in court. I need you to sign inside this box. Once again, you're not admitting guilt. You're letting me know you're aware of the court date.
You are an
inside the box, sir?
liar. Wait.
What am I waiting for?
Call my lawyer.
Wait.
If you do not sign in the box, sir, I will have to take you to see a judge. That means I will place you under arrest, and then you will go see a judge.
I'm going to call my lawyer to ask him about this paperwork.
Okay.
I'm sure I have the right to do that, buddy. Fucking liar.
John gave him the buddy.
Well, believe it, because I'm not joking.
For no reason. Fucking with me for no reason. What's your name?
Officer Brown. It's on your ticket, sir.
Can't fucking believe you. You're ridiculous.
Just doing my job.
No, you're not doing your job. You're fucking picking this fucking Corvette out for no reason. And blaming me for all this shit that you know isn't true. You're ridiculous.
It is not no reason, sir.
I used to really respect police fuckers like you.
You'd rather I just turn my head and let you be a nuisance to the citizens?
I was not a nuisance to the citizens.
I've sworn to protect the citizens from people like you, Mr. Jones. Please don't dig around in your car.
I was looking for a pen. Give me the fucking shit. Can't believe you. You're ridiculous.
Well, believe it because it's the truth, sir.
You are ridiculous. You're a fucking liar.
Inside the box, sir.
Good luck trying to prove that I was speeding when you know I was.
Inside the box.
Give me a second. Can I read this shit?
Okay, I explained him to you.
Just like you've been making me wait. Liar. How do you sleep with yourself?
Well, you're lucky you're not going to jail tonight for reckless driving.
For what? For reckless driving? Yeah, right. Nice try. Sure, I'm lucky. I'm not lucky about shit.
I can tell you've got an interlock in your car.
I'm not worried about shit, bro.
Okay.
Listen to you.
Well, you're going to hurt somebody someday or yourself, sir.
How do you sleep
the way you drive.
Okay, so you caught... I was driving wild tonight. You're fucking lying, buddy. You're lying.
Drag racers hurt people, sir.
I was not drag racing.
People get hurt all the time.
So you just admitted that the guy didn't race me and he stayed put and I drove fast.
No, I told you that both of you left the light at a high rate of speed and he slowed down, sir. You kept going.
You did not.
Okay, well you can listen to it in court with your attorney.
You did not say that. How do you sleep with yourself?
Mostly on my left side, sometimes on my back.
You're harassing me like this.
That was my favorite line.
Can't wait till you get out of my face. You're despicable.
I feel the same way about you, sir.
Pig. Disgust me.
Once again, feelings mutual. Hand me the pen?
Is that all of them? Did I
yes,
sign
sir.
them all?
Yes, you did. Well, I'm going to make sure you signed them all, and then I'll give you your copy.
I don't believe you. Liar.
And that's about how the rest of the call went. Jones saying he's a fucking liar, a pig. I love the cops line, mostly on my left side, sometimes on my back. I don't excuse John's behavior at all. Before I get into my little rant here, Pat, I'll pass it to you. The fuck is Jon Jones doing with his life, son?
Yeah, it's I could not believe when I saw the news. I thought that this was like a throwback to that incident that happened a couple weeks ago or something. I did not realize that this was a completely new thing. I don't know. You know what? I feel like, could he be targeted? Could he be framed? Could this, police officer just have seen this person driving a Corvette and decided that they wanted to write them 5 tickets to meet their quota when in fact they did nothing wrong? In theory, I guess so, but me, myself, I can say that I've never gotten a ticket for doing anything that I didn't actually do.
I like how Jones...
a ticket.
Sorry.
It was absolutely warranted. I've never been pulled over for, not wearing my seatbelt when I had my seatbelt on.
I've seen a lot of videos with Jones, like in UFC Embedded and stuff. I'm pretty sure his daily driver is like this big-ass black pickup truck. And from what I can tell, he crashed into the phone pole in a Bentley. He did the hit and run in a rental car, and this was in a Corvette. So all of these have been in different vehicles, none of which are his daily driver that people see and go, hey, there's Jon Jones. So I don't know how he really can use the targeting defense when he's never been pulled over in the same vehicle more than once.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a pretty weak excuse. I mean, hey, it's still innocent until proven guilty these days in this country. But really, when you look at his record, I mean, he's had so many instances of hitting other people's cars, totaling his own cars, causing bodily injury to a pregnant woman through the direct result of a traffic accident. He
DUI.
was 100%. Yeah, the DUI. it's what is more likely, him being framed or this just being what really is one of the least bad offenses that he's committed. If you look back, I mean, he's been doing way worse stuff. He's hit so many different cars and people previous to this. This was just for drag racing. You know, at least he didn't bring bodily injury to anybody this time. But hey, when you're already on probation for felony fleeing the scene of an accident where bodily harm was caused, when you're already on probation for that, and you get 6, 7, 8 tickets for doing something you're not supposed to be doing. I mean, hey, that's how you end up where you're at. He really has nobody to be upset with but himself. Instead, lashing out at that police officer, completely uncalled for.
Yeah, just uncalled for, and to treat the cop the way he did, not excusable, and to be committing crimes when you're on probation, also not excusable. But I will throw this out there. All right. It seems like what Jones did was, I think the cop said he revved his engine at a Cadillac, and both of them took off going fast, and the Cadillac sort of slowed down so he wasn't speeding, and Jon Jones sped a little. We've all revved our car at someone at a stoplight and done a little fake drag race. Like what the scenario sounds like, it's happened a lot of times. You are driving somewhere with a buddy, you take different cars for whatever reason, you're next to each other at a stoplight. Yeah, you're smiling, you're joking, you throw the car in neutral, you pop a few revs in the engine, you take off, not to where like you're squealing tires, but you take off at a decent rate, which isn't illegal. And you go fast a little bit, and then you slow down before you're actually racing. It isn't like you're actually racing. Jon Jones seemed to it's the idea that the cop was accusing him of drag racing seemed to really upset him, which would lead me to believe that it was one of those, fun things with friends. You're not really drag racing. It isn't like you're going 140 down the street, causing danger to folks around, which is what the cop made it seem like. Yes, he's on probation. I understand that. I sort of was arguing that point with people who didn't seem to understand the logic behind the point I was trying to make, which was, yes, he's on probation. He should know better. Yes, he shouldn't talk to the cop like that. Yes. I understand all of the obvious shit here, but can we agree that getting thrown in a cage for 2 fucking days for revving your engine? I mean, I'm the first one to jump at Jon Jones. DC is one of my top 3 favorite active fighters up there, with Sterling. I don't know who I would round it out with, but I love me some Daniel Cormier, and I hate me some Jon Jones. The dude, he's come at me personally. He's tried to troll me on Twitter and the Instagram just because I questioned him on some shit. This is like way back in 2013. The guy is a heel. He treats cops like shit. I'm friends with multiple cops. I don't like people who treat cops that way, but I'm willing to take a step back and look at this and say, damn, man, even if you're on probation, does this warrant getting thrown in a cage for 48 hours? If he would have jaywalked, yes, he's on probation and he broke a crime, and that's bad. And we don't want people on probation to be breaking crimes. And if we feel they're a danger to society, we throw them in the lockup. Does anyone reasonably think that Jon Jones right now is such a danger to society that he needs to be in a cage? Does anyone really think that someone who's on probation should get put back in jail if they rev their engine at a stoplight and speed a little? Maybe it was going 10 or 20 over. I very highly doubt that he and this Cadillac were, ripping down streets going 140. No, this sounds like one of those things where you got a buddy, you rev the engine a little bit, you take off, you say, my car is faster than yours. I got a Corvette, and that's that. And man, as much as Jones was being a dick to that cop, I think maybe that cop wasn't giving him a fair shake. I think maybe that cop, as my phone goes off because I didn't silence it. I think maybe maybe this is a situation where I don't think the cop was in the wrong. I mean, it's his job to see people doing crimes. I think if there's anything wrong here, it's the New Mexico state statute that says, which I looked it up, which says, if you commit any traffic violation, including just not having your license on you, something as minor as that, you can get thrown in the clink if you are on probation. I think that law is stupid. I don't think the cop did anything wrong. I don't, think the processors did anything wrong, but I think the laws in New Mexico are a little ham-fisted if you're going to make you're going to take a guy's basic personal freedoms away from him for doing something that we all do. And let's be honest, Jones did not hurt anyone, nor was he going to hurt anyone the night he got pulled over. Do you agree with that line of thinking, or are you in the camp, the same camp as our boy Alan, who says black and white does not matter, you are on probation, should have known better? Yes, it's a very minor offense, but it's an offense, and if you're on probation, what do you not do? Fuck up, and you fucked up. Time to sit in the clink until a judge can see you on Thursday morning.
Oh yeah, no, I'm firmly in that camp of it's not that he wasn't thrown in jail for 48 hours because he revved his engine at a stoplight. That's not what it was. It's the extensive track record, as we brought up before. It's not like, this poor guy, why won't somebody just give him a chance? This is like his 80th chance. He has had 1.5 million chances, and just even certain displays like that can be construed as just a flouting of the law and just a flagrant display of disregard for the law. To take something like that so lightly, where again he's damaged so much personal property and physically harmed other human beings already behind the wheel, to say that he wasn't going to harm anybody that night revving that engine, who knows? Especially in those new Corvettes. All Corvettes really since the beginning of time. I mean, revving your light at the engine, hey, you mess up, you could peel out, you could end up hurting yourself or somebody else, which, as Jon Jones' own track record goes to show, he has an inclination for doing that. He has a proclivity towards hitting objects and people when behind the wheel of a motor vehicle. So for him to even be driving, let alone doing anything but staying at 10-2 and accelerating at a very deliberate pace to the posted speed limit of whatever street he is on is completely unwise and foolish, and shows any claim to his trying to be a better person type of deal, just to be some PR, some hype and some shine. He's trying to, who knows why he's trying to even work the good guy angle for any type of reason. He just needs to fully embrace being the heel, and maybe he won't catch as much heat because he's clearly not changing. And if he cared, he wouldn't be caught in these situations in the first place after so many repeated offenses over the years.
How does this man even have a valid license? Like, honestly, how is this guy out driving? I think that's. I mean, if you're going to have laws that are so strict that if you do one thing wrong, if you rev an engine the wrong way, literally you get tossed in the clink. But on the other side of it, your laws are so lenient that you're letting this man drive around town to begin with. Like, what? I don't know. Do you think this is going to affect the DC fight at all? Because I think this is either going to do one of two things. This is either going to strengthen Jon Jones' resolve a little bit, or it's going to get him off track a lot. And I don't know. I'm thinking we're only a few weeks out from the fight. This is the last thing I would be wanting to deal with leading up to, they say the next fight is always the biggest fight of your career, but this is a big crux point. I mean, Jones has not fought for over a year. He's been, stripped of his belt, making his return against his arch nemesis, the guy who now has his belt. In the weeks leading up to a fight, you want to be locking down your diet, wrapping up training, getting ready to come into the cage at a peak, and spending 48 hours in the clink ain't exactly the way to do that. Do you think this is going to negatively affect his mindset and ability to go in there and do what he does at UFC 197 next month?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. If I'm not mistaken, he is in protective custody, so I don't know if he's actually in. I guess that is separate from general population. So, I mean, I'm sure he has all the creature comforts that jail affords a celebrity, the best of cells. He's probably getting some Morton's Steakhouse brought into, or well, no, they probably don't have. Do they have Morton's in Albuquerque, New Mexico? Albuquerque listeners, do you have Morton's out there? Let us know on the Twitter. He's probably having some top shelf being slid to him. It's Johnny Bones. He's doing a cush little ride over there, I'm sure. I don't think this is going to affect it really that much at all. I mean, hey, prison is where people get swole. Let's face it. That's where you bust out 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 sit-ups a day. So Johnny Bones, I mean, this is just like extra training camp. Plus, it also serves as a PR thing because he doesn't really have to do any media. He did the media. You notice in the tape, he's like, "Is that thing on? Is that thing rolling?" He starts talking right into the camera. You know what? If I'm being honest, wouldn't be surprised if this whole thing was a fabricated stunt. Where's Ramsey's at? I want to know if the work is in on this traffic stop. I would not doubt it. This would be the perfect PR, just enhancing Jon Jones's heel role. It's really nothing again, yeah, he didn't run anybody over. They could just be like, "Hey, Jon, rev up that Corvette. Let the tires loose one night. Just peel off a little donut or something like that. Lay the road and see if you can't get yourself an officer with a dash cam on the scene or a lapel cam on the scene." And because man, he was going off. It'd really be a brilliant PR move. I mean, now you got that clip. Everybody can wear it out. We're wearing it out right now. And Jon Jones, he's in there just getting his squats in. He's doing the burpees right now, and I think he'll be good to go come time to fight DC in the rematch.
And I saw he actually was removed from general population for his own safety. Probably the safety of other folks, too. I don't know. Jon Jones could probably fuck up a few inmates. And I actually looked it up. Unfortunately, if you're in New Mexico, if you're in the entire state, there's no Morton's Steakhouses for you.
Oh.
You got to go to Scottsdale, Arizona for the nearest Morton's. But do not fret if you are in Albuquerque. You can head uptown to 2201 Q Street Northeast, where Marcelo's Chop House is serving up some steaks, and it's widely regarded as the best place for prime steak in the Albuquerque area. So Marcelo's Chop House, I will be looking for that check in the mail, and I guess we will move on to the news about Ariel. Yeah, the news about Ariel Helwani, which released from Fox, and once again, I'm going to pull some quotes from the ever-reliable Front Row Brian, who a couple days ago apparently spoke to Ariel on the phone for 2 or 3 minutes, saying, let's see, he says he's taking the high road, sounds very hurt. Ariel says he's at peace, thinks this is the best for him, but he's hurt from how Fox treated him. Ariel also hurt that former colleagues at Fox didn't reach out to him, like Bisbing, Cruz, Florian, Cormier, Karen Bryant. Bottom line with Ariel, he was walking a tightrope. Being a journalist and a Fox personality, had to serve 2 masters. Surprised it lasted this long. Which, I've called Ariel a shill in the past, which maybe wasn't fair. The guy is a journalist and has broke things and has been pretty unbiased with some topics, but at the same time, he was a Fox/UFC employee. A lot of time, he was sort of pushing the company narrative. According to FRB, it wasn't one straw that did it with Ariel at Fox, but the interview with Rory McDonald was the last straw. They claimed he promoted free agency. Promoting free agency is perceived as anti-UFC by the bosses. Dana and Lorenzo could have saved him, not a Fox decision. Promoting isn't even the right word. It's simply addressing something that is there. To ignore it is foolish, which, Brian makes a really good point. Ariel wasn't talking about Rory McDonald in the vein of, thank God, Rory's going to leave. Fuck the UFC. They don't pay fighters. Rory's going to find a better job at Bellator or one, etc., etc., etc. No, Ariel was literally just stating facts. He was not promoting free agency in the least. If anything, if he had to play one side, he probably would have asked Rory to stay. I mean, the guy was a UFC reporter. You would think that, a fighter he likes, a fellow Canadian, he would want to keep reporting on him. So literally the fact that Ariel just reported on free agency and the UFC bosses acted in a way that they've acted before with Burt Watson and Stitch Duran. They've acted callously, emotionlessly, ham-fistedly. I mean, the way that they've gone in and just fired people who have shown supreme loyalty to Zuffa and the UFC and the sport and Fox, etc., etc., etc. Folks who have shown extreme loyalty have been fan favorites, and the UFC, and they do one little thing, which isn't. I mean, what did Stitch do other than say like, yeah, I'd like a decent cut of that deal with Reebok? Boom, fired. Burt Watson apparently gets in a argument with someone in Ronda's camp. Boom, fired. Ariel simply addresses the fact that there are people leaving the UFC and free agency exists. Boom, fired. I mean, this would be like if Roger Goodell was firing, major figures in the NFL. Not for blaming the NFL for CTE and concussions and all of that, but simply stating that brain injuries exist. Like, that's about as deep as Ariel went with the whole free agency jag. So, once again, fuck you, Zuffa. Fuck you, Fox. Yes, you guys put together a product that I consume in the UFC. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon because MMA is something I really like. But the fact that once again you treat someone like Ariel like this is fucked up. I do apologize for calling Helwani a shill because there were times where he would be towing the company line, and I would sort of just look at the shallow end of it, not the deep end, that he was really trying to balance it and serve two masters. And let's be fucking honest, man. You got to get a check however you can get a check. Ariel's got a fucking kid. That man is just trying to make as much bread as he can to bring home as much, as many ducats as possible to put some food on the table and maybe a little bit in the bank when all the bills are paid for. So, you know what? I do not blame Ariel at all. I'm glad he's still going to be around the sport with MMA fighting. He's still got the biggest podcast in the sport in the MMA Hour, which, Ariel, let's stop with these 4-hour marathon shows. Come on, son. But yeah, Ariel released from Fox. Apparently that Rory free agency bit was the last straw. You have any thoughts on our boy Ariel Helwani, the nose, before we move on any further?
Well, Jake, you were certainly on the nose with your analysis of this situation. Bazang! I would be inclined to agree. Really, from start to finish, Ariel. I mean, what a transgression! My goodness, for merely stating that free agency is a thing and does exist, and it's ridiculous. Ariel Helwani, I have liked his content since the MMA fighting days, since the moment that he was brought onto the UFC on Fox broadcast team when they announced that the big Fox deal. They scooped up a lot of the bigger names from the internet, YouTube scene. Karen Bryant from MMA Heat, Ariel Helwani with MMA fighting, Megan O'Leary from, I forget actually what her channel was, but they were all some of the big fan favorites, some of the big names that were watched on online, and I was very pleased to see him as part of the team. He always, I thought, was one of the more competent members of the UFC broadcast team overall. Just as a journalist, as an on-air personality, he really did everything well. It is such a shame for him to have been let go for such a minor issue as doing his job in reporting. As you mentioned, though, it really is a fine line, and it's a balance. Trying to run your own website with MMA fighting, and also at the same time working in a somewhat corporate setting for one of the biggest games in town itself. So how do you do one and then go over to your other job, your baby that you started up, and do what you've been doing this whole time and what got you there, and how do you continue to be impartial and not upset the bosses? But again, this as far as career missteps, you would think this would be a minor one, but as we've seen before with Zuffa, even the most minor career missteps, you could be stepping on a landmine. And yet some of the biggest career transgressions, well, if you're their cash cow, they've got a lawyer team that's deep that'll go to bat for you. So, yeah, very, very unfortunate to see. I'm sure Helwani will do well for himself. I'd love to see him get picked up by ESPN or something like that to get him on the air. But yeah, definitely, I don't think this was a good move by the UFC whatsoever.
No, it wasn't. And sort of like I got to in the Conor Nate discussion. There's only so many times you can fling shit at us before we go and start to consume another product. And with Bellator, Scott Coker, first it's Bendo, then it's Matt Mitrione, now Rory McDonald maybe. I mean, as the names get bigger and more people make that switch, you're going to have more competition, and I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Moving briskly along. Apparently, according to Colin Cowherd, who usually, say what you will about the guy is pretty dead on with his takes. Almost like FRB, folks say, "Oh, you're full of crap, and I don't like you, and you're mean, and your takes are mean." Like him or hate him, the guy's usually right on the money. Colin Cowherd saying that when the UFC Fox contract ends, which will be in 2 years in 2018, they signed a 7-year deal back in 2011. When this UFC contract ends with Fox, ESPN apparently is going to try and go all in with the UFC, which I fucking love. ESPN, as much as they fuck up, I mean, ESPN knows how to do sports. You look at a sports organization who did the opposite, who was on ESPN and then got pulled from it, the NHL. Everyone watched the NHL when that thing was on ESPN, man. It was a sport that was so much more mainstream when you had NHL Live and nightly games on ESPN, and you had the Red Wings and the Avalanche and Joe Sakic and Wayne Gretzky and Patrick Waugh and Steve Yzerman and all these players, and now you have just the same star power, but you got games on fucking what was formerly Versus, now the NBC Sports Network. You have games that are going to be broadcast on like Universal and shit. I think ESPN is a huge move. Maybe we'll see our buddy Chael Sonnen start to become a little bit more visible, as he is currently with ESPN. He's one of their big MMA guys. But what are your thoughts on the worldwide leader, ESPN? Apparently, 2018, they're going to try and go all in and be the new partners with UFC when that Fox deal comes to an end.
That could just be huge. I mean, really, I think the UFC on Fox deal was certainly a major happening for the sport, and they've certainly brought in some good numbers with their UFC on Fox cards, especially some of the more stacked cards that they've done. And I think with ESPN, that could just be even bigger. I mean, honestly, for the UFC's prime demographic, I think SportsCenter is probably, I know at least for me as a single male, SportsCenter is like the channel. When I turn on my TV in the morning, it is on ESPN. When I come home at night and I turn it on after getting home from work, it is on ESPN. It is on SportsCenter. That is just the place so many American males go for their sports. It's just an institution in this country, and for the UFC to get with ESPN in a similar capacity, if that is kind of what they're thinking of doing with the UFC, I think that would just be a fantastic move. I would love to see it more. I sincerely doubt it would ever happen, but I'd love to see, like, the pay-per-views. I'd like to see them get done away with, because, again, the largest sports organizations in the world that make way more money than the UFC, they don't do pay-per-views. If the UFC were to do something where they had their larger events on ESPN, on free TV, where who knows, with ESPN marketing and really pushing that thing as their own baby, as their own brand, the marketing would be full force. And I mean, I would not doubt they could get 10, 15 million viewers for something like that. I mean, I don't know what the ESPN's daily average viewership is for SportsCenter, or what their peak viewership numbers are for different times of the day, but their reach is not to be underestimated. I think it could be a huge move for the UFC, and if they could get it to just down to like ESPN and Fight Pass, or even with the Fox deal, just have the fights on Big Fox, have everything else on Fight Pass. They really just need to simplify the way that they bring it to people. And if they were to simplify it and focus more on ESPN and get with ESPN at the end of their Fox deal, I think it could be a huge step for the sport for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out over with ESPN and Fox. It is a long way off. 2018, the near future, we got a lot more Fox left. Some more big news that only really got pushed down the run list because it happened sort of at the beginning of the week. It's now a story that's, 5 or 6 days old, and we've had a busy week since. Cyborg Santos, she's going to be making her UFC debut May 14th in Brazil against Leslie Smith. There was a little bit of controversy, if you want to call it that. Dana White saying that Leslie Smith was the only one who accepted the fight. Apparently, Kat Zingano called Dana I don't know if I want to say Kat called Dana a liar, but she essentially did, saying that no, I also accepted the fight. That's not true. So whoever, who knows, probably Dana lying, because that guy seems to lie about a lot of shit. Yeah, you got Cyborg versus Leslie Smith. They're going to be fighting at 140 pounds. That's going to be UFC 198, May 14th in Brazil. The card that features the heavyweight championship between Fabricio Verdum and Stipe Miocic, with appearances by big-time Brazilian names like Jacare, like Vitor, like Damian Maia, like Shogun, like Anderson Silva. You got all the big-time Brazilians showing out, and now you have the biggest female Brazilian fighter, Christiane Cyborg Justino, who's minus 1125. She's a huge favorite against Leslie Smith. Who you got? I might put a ducat or two down on Smith, because in the sport of MMA, anyone at plus 600 seems like a decent bet. But I got Cyborg going in smash mode, and she says she wants to fight Ronda Rousey in New York. Which, hey, I'm down for Cyborg Rousey. I mean, that's been a fight we've talked about for a long time, and I think maybe would be the fight. It's either Cyborg or a title fight. Those are the two fights that are going to bring Ronda out of sort of her little shell currently. And I love the story that she apparently texted Dana White after Misha won the belt, saying, "I'm ready to fight her. I've been training, blah, blah, blah." Like, oh, word? So you wouldn't have been if Holly won? Like, huh? So, yeah, we have Cyborg Smith, which Vegas sees as a very one-sided fight in Brazil. UFC 198, the debut of Cyborg Santos. Finally, or Cyborg Justino, sorry. Finally. Who you got?
Well, Vegas, I don't think they are wrong with their line in this one. Cyborg is a massive favorite, and rightly so. Leslie Smith has had a middle-of-the-road UFC career. I don't know. Jake, I don't have her record in front of me. I don't even know if she's even 500 in the UFC. But Cyborg Justino, she is one of the best that has ever fought as far as women's mixed martial arts.
Leslie's the chick whose ear got blasted off by Rocky Pennington, I believe. Yep.
That was Jessica I that busted.
Jessica I, same chick.
Yes.
They have similar faces.
Okay.
What a misogynistic comment.
No, they don't. They don't. But that's okay.
Okay, they do not at all. Moving on. Leslie Smith. She is right at 500 in the UFC. Came over to the UFC after losing the Invicta FC Flyweight Championship to Barb Honchek. Since then, she's fought 4 times in the UFC, losing to Sarah Kaufman in her debut, then defeating Jessamine Duke, then losing to Jessica I via dog stoppage, and defeating Rin Nakai. So in her last 5 fights, she has 2 wins against Jessamine Duke and Rin Nakai. 2 fighters who don't really possess the most technical skill sets as far as MMA goes. Rin Nakai and Jessamine Duke are out there looking sloppy as hell. I mean, just talking about very beginner level opponents. If she can only get by Duke and Nakai, and she's gonna face Santos, I might take that $1 bet off the table for plus 600, because even at plus 600, Santos gonna fucking murk this chick. Come on.
Yeah, she gonna smash. She's going to put some power into those shots and get by that long bird reach of Leslie Smith, and it's
so
going to be.
Saying she looks like a bird.
I had to make it. It's Always Sunny reference just because she is
Sweet D.
Sweet D with her glass bones. Ear going to be falling off again. It's no, I mean, God bless Leslie Smith. She's I want to say she's actually training with the Diaz brothers in the Cesar Gracie camp up there in NorCal. I want to say that is where she's at. I mean, certainly a tough woman. Hey, 2-2. What did I say? I wasn't even sure if she was 500 in the UFC. She does have some decent skills, but again, Cyborg she has been that chick herself for coming on a decade now. Because again, Gina Carano, who was the Ronda Rousey of 2008, was a huge star, just as big as Ronda Rousey is. Went on to do movies, all that, and Cyborg smashed her, sent her into retirement, and she has been the #1 female mixed martial artist until Ronda Rousey created any kind of question to that, just by what she's done at the 135-pound division. But now that we've seen MMA Math present some interesting situations there, I mean, really, Cyborg has been the constant, one of the top fighters in women's mixed martial arts. I don't even recall she has like 1 loss on her record, I want to say. Don't recall when that was. Don't think I've ever seen it. She's been undefeated for so long now. This is just going to be an introduction to the UFC for Cyborg by giving her a nice layup to show what she can do best.
And I think Kat Zingano really did accept the fight, and the UFC said, you know what? Before we start to give Cyborg good opponents who can challenge her, let's have at least one fight where we just let Cyborg ravage some chick to show the UFC fans what she's all about. Get some of that in the film banks before we give Justino now, not Santos, a run for her money. Only a couple more topics left. Korean Zombie apparently is done with his required military service as per the laws of South Korea demand of their citizens. And he's done with that, looking to return to the UFC, looking for a little fight action. Last we heard from Korean Zombie, he defeated Dustin Poirier and then got a shot at the title, lost to Jose Aldo back in 2013, almost 3 years ago. Now he's back looking for a fight. Who do you like for Zombie? If he stays at featherweight, I like a lot of fights. I mean, he really, the featherweight division has come a long way in 3 years. And there are a lot of guys he has not fought. He hasn't faced Dennis Bermudez. He hasn't faced Ricardo Lamas. He hasn't faced either Cub Swanson or Hakron Diaz. Those two fight each other next month at that UFC Tampa event. I like all those fights. Lamas, Bermudez, the winner of Cub Diaz. I don't know. Give him Lamas, man. Just based on the fact that Lamas is the highest up the rankings, and it isn't like Chan Sung Jung has been off, jacking off or doing, movies or this and that. He's been doing something very noble. He's been, doing military time. And, don't punish the man. He's got an exciting skill set. The only man to pull off a twister in the UFC. He's got great jits. He's got a great chin. I mean, they call him the Korean Zombie for a reason. The dude can't get knocked out. And even his loss against Aldo. I don't remember that fight as clearly as I should, but wasn't that like a weird injury? Zombie still, he would have lost the fight either way, but, I'm thinking back, didn't he, get hurt or something? And then, he got... sorry?
The dislocated shoulder was...
that was it.
That's what happened there.
Led to him getting TKO'd in the 4th round, because... The man's damn arm wasn't working, but it's looking like we will see a little more Korean Zombie than we've seen the last few years. Who do you think he should get matched up against?
Man, it's going to be great to have him back. That's another guy, the Korean Zombie. Great boxing, great with the grappling. I mean, you pull off a twister, you get my respect. I wouldn't fault the UFC, though, or the Korean Zombie if he chose to go back a little bit in the rankings. I mean, yes, his last fight was in title contention. However, that was a fight he did lose, TKO due to injury. But just the time of inactivity, sure, he's probably still in great shape. Again, as you mentioned, he was doing his mandatory service in the Korean military. But that I don't know how much time was he doing getting to spar. Was he rolling? Did he have a special division? I mean, could it be one of those things where he was actually part of his service was just teaching mixed martial arts or teaching hand-to-hand combat to the other guys? Who knows exactly what his focus was in the Korean military, but still, nonetheless, I'd say it has to be a different atmosphere than training for the UFC experience, for having that ranked opponent who you're going to fight and putting in that training camp for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him start out at the 15 ranked. As you mentioned, Dennis Bermudez, I think that would be a fantastic matchup. He's right around there. He's in, I don't know what his specific rank is, but top 10, top 15. I wouldn't want to start him out too high just because, again, it has been so long since he's been in the cage. But yeah, very, very stoked to get him back. He has always brought the fight. Certainly everybody remembers his epic legend of a fight against oh my goodness, I forgot his
Leonard
name.
Garcia?
It's Leonard Garcia. Oh my goodness, the fight with Leonard Garcia in the WEC. Which, yeah, that's who he pulled the twister off on, was against Leonard Garcia. One of Donald Cerrone's longtime buddies over there at the Jackson Winklejohn team. Yeah, that was just an epic fight. Certainly everybody remembers Korean Zombie from such showings, and it'll be nice to have that kind of fighter back in the cage soon.
It will be. And our last topic, UFC 200. We talked about Kane Brown last week. We're also going to see Takanori Gomi, Jim Miller. Apparently the news about Joe Lauzon versus Diego Sanchez, apparently that was only out like yesterday, even though I'm pretty sure I mentioned it either last week or a couple weeks ago on the podcast. Heard a little rumor, a bug jumped in my ear. So you got a little early news there if you listen about Diego Sanchez and Joe Lauzon. Talk about a fucking automatic fight of the night there. Both of those dudes, the two dudes who are known for exciting fights. Johnny Hendricks is going to be fighting on UFC 200 against Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum, a guy who I think in his last 3 fights is 1-2. He lost a split decision to Neil Magny most recently. Lost a split decision to Tyron Woodley at UFC 183. But those are the only 2 smudges on his record. He made Nate's corner stop the fight when he had his I guess his single fight at 185 before they moved him back down to fight Magny. The guy's beaten, he's beaten Uriah Hall, Rick Story, Jake Ellenberger, Nate Marquardt. He's got a lot of wins. And I will be, rooting for him as a tough 17 Team Darkside guy. But this is going to be a tough fight for Kelvin Gastelum. As far as looking at Johnny, you could sort of see, and yes, I know hindsight is 20/20. You could see afterwards how Stephen Thompson was kind of that kryptonite for Johnny, where he can deal with boxers, he can deal with wrestlers, he can, the ground guys, he can keep it standing with his wrestling and knock them out. But Thompson was just that mix of elusive and keeping range and throwing these spinning shits and these kicks, where Kelvin Gastelum, just as far as it matches up, I have him losing this fight to Johnny Big Rig Hendricks. We don't have a line out for it yet, but I can guarantee you that Johnny will be a favorite here. Obviously you've heard me and Pat both speak praises of Johnny. We both think he's 3-0 in title fights where the judges have seen him 1-2, earning a win against Lawler and GSP in fights that are officially losses. But yeah, I think, Johnny is coming up. It's strange that both of these dudes are coming off losses, because they're both very good welterweights. I think Johnny is a top 3 welterweight. I think Kelvin easily top 10. He's young. In time, he'll be top 5. In time, he might be the champion. You look at the age of all these welterweights. They're getting a little old. Kelvin Gastelum was born in the damn 90s, people. He's only 24 years old, and he already has, 8 UFC fights under his belt? That is like Holloway numbers. Like him, Holloway, Rory Mack, if he can manage to get retained by the UFC. These are all young stars. So Kelvin may be the future champ, but I don't think UFC 200 is going to be his night. I will be rooting for him, but if I'm coming at you objectively here, I'm taking Johnny to get the victory. Give us your breakdown, and then we will put a bow on the podcast and send it out.
Man, well, I'm very surprised at this matchup. Johnny Hendricks. I mean, last time we were talking about a Johnny Hendricks fight, I'm pretty sure it was you and I singing the chorus of how Johnny Hendricks was going to be making a statement, and he was just going to smash Stephen
He's
Thompson.
not just going to beat him, he's going to fuck him up.
He was going to just drive Stephen Thompson through the canvas and just leave him unconscious. And he, oh my goodness, got worked like we never seen the former champ get worked. He had taken some L's in his career, but nothing like that. Never been stopped before. The first time being TKO'd. I know I myself always quick to hype Johnny Hendricks' jaw, and I will still defend his jaw. My goodness, though, just the accuracy of Stephen Thompson, and the unorthodox array that he has, the angles he can hit you from, a lot different than just standing in the pocket with the boxer and rolling with the punches. When you got to look for hook kicks to the temple too, I mean, it's a whole nother game. Kelvin Gastelum is a fighter made in Johnny Hendricks' mold. Johnny Hendricks has fought guys like Kelvin Gastelum so many times, Rick Story, who interestingly enough, as you mentioned, Kelvin Gastelum beat. That is one of the more legit losses on Johnny Hendricks' record, that he did lose to Rick Story, but he's gone toe-to-toe. Mike Pierce, Josh Koscheck, again, an iffy fight. But he typically does well against guys who are almost mirror images to him. Solid wrestlers, good grappling, heavy hands. That could really easily describe either of these fighters. And I certainly think this will be a great fight, because they both go in and put on a show every time they get inside the cage. Kelvin definitely has gotten some great finishes, and Johnny Hendricks as well. And both of these guys coming off a loss, fighting at UFC 200 as well. I mean, let's not forget, all of these fights that are going to be put on this card, you can look at how good they're going to be, but then think about it as well. This is going to be UFC 200. People are going to be going for the gusto. People are going to want those bonuses for UFC 200. People are going to want to put on the fight of the night and the performance of the night for UFC 200 to have that Lesnar over Mir moment, or, everybody wants to have that Dan Henderson over Michael Bisping moment that just lives in infamy. And, well, not infamy, that's just one of the greater clips in MMA history from one of the bigger events. So hopefully we're seeing all the fighters putting their best foot forward for this card as well. And I think that'll just make this Johnny Hendricks versus Kelvin Gastelum scrap all the more exciting. And I do think Johnny is going to prevail in this one, though.
We're both picking Johnny, and I believe that wraps it up. Thank you so much for tuning in to the MMA Podcast 164. We will be back next week with more hot takes. Pat, anything else for the people? Tell them where to find you, all that good stuff.
Well, folks, always a pleasure. It's been lovely. You can follow your boy at Sweet Pappy Jones on the Twitter, and follow your boy at the MMA Podcast, all the family. Much love, cuz.
Much love as always. Visit us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com for links at the top. Visit our sister shows, the T-Row and Funky Show for a little Amy Wrestling. The Filthy FRB Show, they have not done a new episode in the last little while, but go and listen to the archive. Go and listen to the Virgil episode of the Filthy FRB Show if you have not listened. That is pure comedy gold. And yeah, a rare MMA podcast where we don't have a card last week to break down, or this coming weekend. This coming weekend, I believe there's a World Series of Fighting card. Nothing really to dive too deep in there. I think you have David Branch on the main event. But I do believe that next week we will be previewing that UFC card that features Ben Rothwell and Junior Dos Santos. The weekend after that UFC Tampa, UFC on Fox 19, that big stacked card. So we will be breaking those down in the future, maybe get some interviews going. A long show tonight, almost 2 hours. We appreciate you hanging in with us. We'll see you next week. Until then, we go! Tight grip, my Lucas shorties like to run game. Some brothers like to trick, but I ain't on that trickin' tip. I'm like a saving those who I can fit with, pushing the Lex. Now I'm set, ready to jet. No matter how much loot I get, I'm staying in the projects forever.